Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everyone, and I'm back. And I'm glad you're back too. At least I'm back for the moment. Sorry about the technical problems, a late start again tonight because we weren't broadcasting out to all of the proper channels. More technical problems. I don't know how it's getting blocked, but I had to do a complete reset. So I appreciate your patience through the technical difficulties. We have an update on the court case out of the Universal Ostrich Farm. We have Donald Trump in a very uncomfortable exchange with media on the White House lawn before he took off to, I believe it was Pennsylvania today, for an energy conference, I believe it was. Anyway, we have a clip from there too that I think we might eventually get to. Everything is swirling around, you guessed it, the Epstein files, which is a story that just won't go away. And it is causing a lot of trouble for Donald Trump. This, it appears, may be his Achilles heel. How far is it all going to go? Well, he'd like it to stop right now. And the MAGA world is saying, no way. And there is a definite split happening here because of the Epstein issue. So we have that. We have other politics to talk about. Lots of it. So stay with me, and we'll start digging into the top news stories of the day on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Right, we're back and live. Still a couple of channels not working. Strange, but we're on the main one on Rumble. I don't know if we're running on YouTube, but we're going to just keep on plowing through no matter what at this point. So we can tell you that today was court day for the Ostriches, or more specifically, the owners of Universal Ostrich Farm. They were out in, they're from British Columbia, Edgewood, and they were in the Federal Appeals Court in Ottawa today. And I did watch the proceedings. I was able to get an approved link to join through the video conference to witness the submissions. And they were pretty good arguments all the way around. I can tell you they were thorough on both sides, exploring the issue of the bird flu infection out at the farm. I can also tell you that after watching all day, or most of the day, that these other issues, like the vaccination research, the use of the synthetic antigens and injecting the birds and using the facility as a bioresearch facility, that stuff really didn't get touched on. That was not, because that is not what is at the core of the legal challenge And that is not what the main question is out there. It's all about culling the birds, or the CFIA, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, order to cull the ostriches, kill them, because of the avian flu outbreak that was experienced there, resulting in 69 ostrich deaths. The farm says the birds shouldn't be killed unless there's further testing, and there hasn't been. They say that there hasn't been a death of a bird out there since, I believe it is January 15th of this year. So these are the kinds of arguments that were argued today in the appeals court. It took better part of the day to go through the submission. Started at 9:30 a.m. this morning, wrapped up around, I think it was 3:30 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the exact time. Anyway, it went pretty much all day. The CFIA insisting the cull is necessary to prevent the spread of a novel strain of the bird flu, which killed, as I said, 69 ostriches last winter. The farmers were represented today by Umar Sheikh, who argued that the remaining birds are healthy and part of a research project on ostrich immunity, making the cull order excessive. A lot of details on the research going on out there, though, not really touched on in the submissions today. It was all just really about the bird flu and whether the CFIA policy is reasonable. And that's the key word, reasonable. And it's a very complex case. Now, a verdict was not rendered today. The court will take the submissions in, consider them, and will take some time to consider the arguments of both sides and then come back with a written decision on this case. So no decision offered up today. There was no indication how long it might take, other than the justice saying that a decision will come fairly quickly because of the seriousness, because both sides in the case, for both sides, it's a very serious matter. So a decision, I would say, will probably come, because the case was expedited to begin with. I would not be surprised if we don't get a decision on this within a week. Maybe a month, but I think probably within a week it will be stepped up. And the other reason I think that is likely to happen is because, as I was listening to the arguments, it was very clear that all of the material had been reviewed by all parties in the court today heading in, and they were all very familiar with the background material, the precedent, the cases, the case law that was presented as well, and all the precedents that had previously been established with regard to court cases previously heard, previous court challenges to the CFIA policy on culling birds when it's faced with a bird flu outbreak. So look for it in about probably a week or so. So kind of anticlimactic, I think, for Katie Pisitny and Karen Esperson, the owners of the farm. I think they were hoping, honestly, that they would get something of a decision maybe today, and maybe a little bit more of a media attention, or maybe even a media circus out there in Ottawa as a result of this, but a little bit anticlimactic because there's no decision rendered, which didn't surprise me at all. And even though it's a complex case, it was heard in a lower court, and that's why it only took a day today to hear the submissions, all very focused on just the reasonableness of the CFIA cull policy, the stamping out policy, stamping out the virus by culling birds and disinfecting or destroying anything else that can be disposed of that may have been exposed to the virus. So that's what the stamping out policy is all about. And there's, politics swirling around all of this. And that is why Katie Pisitny has stated publicly that even if they lose here, they will make every attempt to appeal again and take this all the way to the Supreme Court. So I suspect this is just another milestone in the ongoing Ostrich, Universal Ostrich Farm Odyssey. Stay with me. We'll be right back. We'll start digging into the Epstein files.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, I'm just going to look over here in the chat, make sure everything is okay. I think we're running okay on channel 1, so that's where I'm looking. And hello, Lindy, Jubilee, Arthur, Dragon, hello, Kitty. Yeah, Rick, Arthur says, do I think they have wasted their money? I think you are probably talking about the owners of Universal Ostrich Farm. I don't know, Arthur. I will say that I got the sense that the court was quite willing to look at this whole thing. And, as much as the other thing that came to light here in today's court proceeding was that even though there's this picture of a very obstinate, stubborn CFIA bureaucracy in place, it was revealed today that the CFIA has, on many occasions, I think on a fairly regular basis, they review this culling policy, which has been in place for years, many years. And even though they keep looking at it and reviewing it to see if it is the best, or maybe in this case, the only option that they have in order to address or take any kind of action with regard to bird flu, they keep coming to the same conclusion that this is really currently the only real tool they have, because they can't vaccinate the birds for a variety of different reasons, not the least of which is it makes the birds, if you vaccinate them, you can't export them in for food like chickens into a lot of other markets. So there are those issues, and it's just we're being told that there's this complete inflexibility there. And yeah, it is a very rigid policy, but it has been challenged in court in the past, and the CFIA has and continues to review the policy to see if it is still best practice. And this is where they keep coming back to. It's something that's done in the vast majority of countries. The United States, it appears, is pivoting away from this because of RFK Jr., but he is pivoting away from a lot of things that are not in line with what other countries are doing. And it isn't just the policy itself. It isn't just it's not just about the science. It's also about the economy. It's about keeping things in compliance. As much as people don't want to hear that, it's true, because if you it was also revealed today, not that it's so much revealed, but it was highlighted today, that if if the bird flu epidemic, if you want to call it that, or if bird flu spreads to too many areas within the country and these protocols are not in place, then a lot of countries will put Canada basically under a quarantine, if you want to call it that, but they won't accept any exports of, say, chicken for up to like a year, even after the outbreaks are contained. You can have outbreaks, but if you're seen by these other countries where you're exporting your product to, if you're seen as mitigating the risk by culling and trying to contain the disease, then you can continue to export to those countries. But if you're just letting it run, if you're not taking steps to try to control it, those countries sit there and go, we don't want these disease. We don't want to take the risk of importing any diseased birds, not only because they don't want to feed the diseased birds to the people in their countries, but also because they don't want diseased birds coming into their country and possibly spreading the disease. I'm expanding a little bit on what we said in court today, but that's why they don't want diseased birds coming into their country, potentially, even if they have been slaughtered. They don't want diseased bird meat coming in because that can spread to chickens in their country too. So these are very serious issues, and if you don't handle it properly, it could destroy the entire Canadian poultry industry. It really hits that level. So these are things that really need to be considered. The court, though, may not even take those kinds of things into consideration at that level. It's a very complex case. I really don't know what the outcome might end up being. It could honestly go either way. It just depends on how the judge prefers to interpret the arguments. So, here we've laid out a lot of the information and information that goes beyond, I think, just about anything you're going to find anyplace else with regard to what's been going on out at that farm. But those are not the issues before the court. Not here. Court deals with just single issues, generally speaking. So we'll keep our eyes peeled and our ears open, and we'll let you know what happens. Back to politics, American style, and the Epstein case not going anywhere. Donald Trump tried to shut it down the other day when he was in that news conference. He says, why are we still talking about Epstein? We've got all these other things we should be talking about. No, everybody wants to talk about Epstein. MAG is melting down. Trump is melting down. And he had this other, well, I'm calling it uncomfortable. Some are calling it a disastrous exchange with media, taking questions from reporters on the lawn of the White House today. And yeah, it didn't go well. And I'm going to run pretty much all of this exchange. It runs for about 15 minutes. We'll stop in between and we'll comment a little bit as we make our way along through this exchange. But when he gets to the Epstein, so there's a bunch of subjects here, but when he gets to the Epstein stuff, listen to what he actually says. Something is really not right. He's very uncomfortable with this. This is his Achilles heel. Okay, let's start this thing rolling from the top.
We're going to be touting about, actually, going to be numbers like nobody's ever heard before. It's mostly to do with AI.
Thing in Pittsburgh.
We have tremendous investments being made, literally trillions of dollars of investments being made in our country on AI, artificial intelligence. I don't know if the word artificial is a good word, but that's the word. That's what they've chosen. So I think we're going to have a very successful trip. We had a good call with the Texas congressman this morning, as you probably heard, and that went very well. And you have any questions? Yeah.
President, your reaction to the latest numbers from the Labor Department saying that inflation rose slightly last month?
Very slight. Essentially, they were exactly as anticipated. Very low inflation. So what you should do is lower the rate. The Fed should lower the rate immediately.
He's just going about power all the time.
We had a big win with the Supreme Court on the Department of Education. We want, as you know, we want to bring education back to the states, take the federal government out of it. A little tiny bit of supervision, but very little, almost nothing. Like to make sure they speak English. That's about all we need.
Mr. President, do you believe your tariffs might be in a struggling failing school right now? What do you tell that?
Well, we have school choice, and we're getting school choice approved all over the country. We just got it done in Texas, and school choice is the answer. Yes. I still.
Given like the 50 days, what happens now if you talk to Vladimir Putin?
Well, at the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, it's going to be too bad. Well,
I can tell you that Russia has come out, and officials with the Putin regime, they've come out and they've responded to Trump's ultimatum, the 50-day ultimatum, and they've said that what Trump is pushing is unacceptable. So another slap upside the head with reality for Donald Trump. It's not going to be easy to solve that situation between Putin and Zelensky, or Russia, Ukraine.
yeah, the tariffs are going to go on, and other sanctions go on.
Mr. President,
I don't think the sanctions are going to matter to Russia. I don't think they care.
Zelensky target Moscow.
No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
Mr. President, what about Ukraine? Are you willing to give long-range missiles to Ukraine as well? And are you happy about the 50 days?
No, we're not looking to do that.
Mr. President, why are you giving Mr. Putin 50 additional days to prosecute his war against Ukraine?
Oh, I don't think 50 days is very long, and it could be sooner than that. I don't think 50 days is very long.
Mr. President,
You should have asked that same question to Biden. Why did he get us into this war? You should ask that question. Yeah, and what did he tell you? Why did he get us into this war? You know why he got us in? Because he's a dummy. That's why. And you don't cover it right. But you should be asking that question to Biden. Why did he get us into this war? Because he's incompetent. It would have never happened if I were president.
Mr. President, do you believe your...
What's the deal with Indonesia? What are the terms?
So we made a deal with Indonesia. I spoke to their really great president, very popular, very strong, smart, and we made the deal. We have full access to Indonesia, everything. As you know, Indonesia is very strong on copper, but we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. And the other part is they are going to pay 19%, and we are going to pay nothing. I think it's a good deal for both parties, but we will have full access into Indonesia. And we have a couple of those deals that are going to be announced. India basically is working along that same line. We're going to have access into India. And you have to understand, we had no access into any of these countries. Our people couldn't go in. And now we're getting access because of what we're doing with the tariffs. So they're paying 19%, and we are not paying anything. And they're going to give us full access into Indonesia. Now, Indonesia has some great products, and they also have some very valuable earths and various other materials. One of the things, as you know, they're known for is very high quality copper, which we'll be using.
Mr. President, do you believe your tariffs might have led for inflation to increase last month? Do you think they had any role?
Well, we had very little inflation. I don't know. Who do you work for?
USA Today.
What?
USA Today.
Oh, well, they wrote me a beautiful article the other day, so I can't get angry at
What
you.
about the European?
USA Today just wrote a very good article about me. What's that all about? So I can't get angry at you. No, there was very little inflation, as you know. The numbers were very good, very much inside the margin. So we've had no inflation. All we have is we're making a fortune. We are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. You saw we had a surplus of $25 billion last month, which we haven't had in many, many years. We are doing because I'm able to do it. Nobody else would be able to do it. We have tariffs going on because we want tariffs and we want the money coming into the United States. But more important than the money, there's two aspects to tariffs. There's the money, which comes in. The other aspect is that rather than paying the tariffs, the country or the company will build in the United States, make their product in the United States, and that creates jobs. And
That is ultimately the goal, is to bring more manufacturing or reshore manufacturing in the United States. And that is what tariffs can ultimately do. But really, the money is not coming in from other countries. It's coming out of the pockets of consumers in the United States through inflation, through payments from the companies that are buying the imported goods. They pay the tariff at the border, not the country sending it in. Although I will say that we are seeing evidence that in some cases, at least at this point, some manufacturers, like some of the Japanese car companies, have been eating the tariffs. In other words, pushing the product in and then reducing their price to compensate to some degree for the tariffs that have been imposed. But those manufacturers will not continue to do that over the long haul. They're doing it right now because they're hoping, pushing, trying to negotiate new deals that will eventually, maybe in the shorter term, get the tariffs lifted. And in order to maintain their market share and keep their production up and supply chains working, and keep production rolling so that all of those things are not disruptive. Yeah, in some cases they are eating the tariff, at least for the short term, but they will not be able to do that over the long haul. This will finally manifest itself at some point in the near future in the form of inflation, thus higher prices.
Say of the two, probably the more important to me is that, yeah.
Are you on Ukraine's side now?
No, I'm on nobody's side. I'm the no.
Why?
I want to, you know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week.
What about
I want to
China?
stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's the side I'm on.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with this, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well.
Here we go.
She's really done a very good job, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that, and I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
Well, not everybody in the MAGA camp thinks that. That's why Dan Bongino, I think his status is still in limbo. He's threatening to resign because of the way the Epstein files have been handled or not handled, mishandled, not handled at all, not released or revealed to the public, in spite of MAGA and Trump campaigning on that very issue, promising that they would release the Epstein files and provide transparency, the likes of which we've never seen before. But now suddenly we're hearing, well, just a few days ago that the files don't exist. Oh, no, they're not even. There are no files. There's nothing there. There's no, well, I don't think that there's, not that they were saying there are no files, but they're saying there's no list, no Epstein list of clients that Pam Bondi said she had on her desk. And well, now after being told that the list doesn't exist and a lot of these files are maybe just fake, a fabrication, listen to what Trump says as he continues to be questioned on this. It's going to come up again in this exchange with reporters.
On what? On the on what? On what subject? Okay. A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the UN? Specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appears in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Whatever she thinks is credible should be released. But look at the way he's squirming. He's saying that these were now the files that I guess were there, but then weren't there, and now they're all made up. Made up by whom? Comey and the same people who made up the Russia hoax, which, if you start digging into it, you begin to see that some of that stuff is not a hoax. There is some meat to the matter if you really start to dig into it and read the files on the Russia scandal. Was Donald Trump knowingly participating in a Russian attempt to help get him elected or whatever? I don't think so. Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But it's not like it was completely fabricated. Some exaggeration there, maybe, but who's the king of exaggeration? Donald Trump himself. And now, nothing to see here, folks, on the Epstein files? No, I don't know. I don't know. Something doesn't smell right. Something's not right.
How many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue
Yeah,
states
well, that's
decide to-
okay too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and that'll be 5. No, just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats. But we have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
With Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. When was the last time you spoke with him?
Well, when he was in my office.
And what did you tell him when he was in your office?
I told him he's doing a very bad job. He's way late. That's why I call him too late. Jerome Powell is too late. He's way late. Interest rates should be coming down. We have a very, very successful country. We should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world, and we don't. Jerome Powell has done a terrible job, and frankly, I don't think he could do a worse job. He's called everything wrong. So they had a report come out the other day, 71 different economists, and me. You know who was right? Me.
Are you going to
Of course.
Did you know that? I was right.
I did know
Oh, yeah, he's always
Are you
right.
going to appoint Mr. Powell to another term as Fed chair?
You must be kidding.
Have you started interviewing his replacement?
You must be kidding. That's a funny one coming. You had to waste a question like that.
Are you negotiating with the EU on tariffs? Are you still negotiating with the European
No, we are talking to the EU, and we're making progress. But look, we already have a deal with the EU. It's called the letter that was sent out. I think it was 30%. That's the EU. But we, at the same time, we are talking.
What happens if the EU retaliates?
No, go ahead.
Well, Mr. President, your reaction to Andrew Cuomo staying in the New York City mayor's race. Andrew Cuomo staying in the New York City mayor's race.
I think he should stay. I think he has a shot.
Would you prefer him over...
Well, I don't want to say. I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat or an independent. No, I think Andrew would have a good shot of winning. He's got to run a tough campaign. He's running against the communists. I would think that he would have a good shot of winning. Steve, go ahead. We're going to be meeting with the British Prime Minister, very respected, and we are going to have a meeting with him probably in Aberdeen, and we're going to do a lot of different things, and we're going to also refine the trade deal that we've made. So we'll be meeting mostly with at probably one of my properties, or maybe not, depending on what happens, but we'll be in Aberdeen in Scotland meeting with the Prime Minister.
Do you have a message for the EU? Mr. President, do you have a message for the EU if they retaliate for your tariffs?
Well, I don't know how they can retaliate. They've made a lot of money. They've treated us very badly, but now they're treating us very nicely. And I think I think everybody's going to be happy with the EU.
What's your preferred party? Plans to meet with Pope Leo and interview with
Not a plan. I would do it. I have a lot of respect. I really like his brother. His brother is a major, serious Trumper. You know that. He's MAGA all the way. I like the Pope's brother, and I think I'd like the Pope. But the Pope's brother lives in Florida. I met him, and he is MAGA. He's got MAGA signs all over the house. He likes Trump, and I like him. How about you? Well, we're going to see what happens with President Bush. So far, I've been very disappointed with President Putin. I've solved a lot of wars in the last 3 months, but I haven't gotten this one yet. This is a Biden war. It's not a Trump war. I'm here to try and get us out of that mess. Any messages for what? Yeah, go ahead. Do I have a what? For the people of Brazil?
Yes.
Are you from Brazil?
I am. Okay. Prosecutors in Brazil asked the Supreme Court to find former President Bolsonaro guilty. Any word of that?
He's going to trial now, right?
Yes.
When is that trial starting?
Prosecutors, we're asking.
When is the trial for Bolsonaro starting? When is it? How is it going?
Now they're asking him to find him guilty.
But they haven't found him guilty, have they? But have they found him guilty? No. Look, here's the stuff. President Bolsonaro is a good man. I've gotten to know a lot of prime ministers and presidents and kings and queens. And I know him, and I'm pretty good at this. President Bolsonaro is not a dishonest man. He loves the people of Brazil. He fought hard for the people of Brazil. He negotiated trade deals against me for the people of Brazil, and he was very tough. And he was tough because he wanted to do a good deal for his country. He was not a dishonest man. And I believe it's a witch hunt, and it shouldn't be happening. And it's not that I know him that, look, he's not like a friend of mine. He's somebody that I know. And I know him as a representative of millions of people, Brazilians. They're great people. And he loves the country, and he fought hard for those people, and they want to put him in jail. And I think that's a witch hunt, and I think it's very unfortunate. And nobody's happy with what Brazil is doing, because Bolsonaro was a respected president. Very respected.
You want Adam Schiff brought to justice.
I would love to see him brought to justice. I'll tell you what, I think Adam Schiff is one of the lowest of the low. I would love to see him brought to justice. He's a dishonest, crooked guy. I don't know about the individual charge, if that even happens. But Adam Schiff is a serious lowlife.
And tomorrow morning here in Washington, AOC is hosting Zoran Nami for breakfast. Were you invited?
I'd love to be. I'd really love to go. I mean, I look forward to meeting them both. I know them both very well through what I read and through what I see. Look, he's a communist. I don't think our country is ready for a communist, but we're going to see. And I don't think that race is over yet either. You do have a couple of people running against, and it'll be an interesting thing. Things are coming out about him which aren't good. And, you know, AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now it's time for them to take a test. Anyway, have a good time. I like Dan Bongino. Yeah.
Mr. President, do you think Putin respects you and takes your threat seriously?
He likes Dan Bongino, but I'll tell you, Bongino is
One second. They get excited over you, right?
not
They get
happy.
excited over you.
I don't know why. First question. First, Letitia James, alleged mortgage fraud. Now we have Adam Schiff allegedly committed mortgage fraud at all. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I just saw it, and I think the thing with Adam Schiff is very serious, and I think what they have on Letitia James is very serious. That's a very, very serious situation. But I have to leave that up to the district attorneys and to the prosecutors and to the attorney general, most importantly.
Should Letitia James have a law license based upon the alleged violations of mortgage fraud?
Well, they look pretty open and shut to me, but, you know, I'm not the jury. I'm not the jury. No, looks very serious. And Adam Schiff looks very serious. Look, he's a
Very
sleazeball.
lively
Everybody
exchange
knows
today.
it. And I was a little surprised. I thought he would have covered his bases a little bit better than that. Adam Schiff is a lowlife. He deserves what he gets.
We'll talk about the Genius Act that you just pushed out. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're going to do that, and we have great support for it. It's a beautiful act. It's the Genius Act is a beautiful act. I even like the name of it because we need smart people in our country. Thank you, Brian.
Did you get it? Have you spoken to President Putin since the announcement yesterday? Do you have plans?
And the end. Ciao for now. That's the end of that. And as I say, a very lively exchange with the media today. A lot of subjects covered, but it's the Epstein files. That's what keeps resurfacing over and over and over again. And as an extension of all that, Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of Jeffrey Epstein, has reportedly expressed willingness to testify before Congress about Epstein's alleged sex trafficking network and a rumored client list. According to sources cited by the Daily Mail, Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking, claims she was never offered a plea deal and is eager to, quote, tell the American public the truth. So this isn't about her, giving them information behind closed doors in some questioning session or interrogation or testifying in camera or anything like that. She wants to testify in public. And there's some suggestion here that she might have the client list. In fact, she would know, wouldn't she? If there was a list of clients to be had. The 63-year-old's offer comes as the Department of Justice and FBI recently stated there is no evidence of a client list or blackmail scheme involving prominent individuals. And also today, House Speaker Mike Johnson voiced support for transparency, saying he backs Maxwell testifying and urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to release all related files on Epstein. So we've seen social media go wild over this again today. Mixed reaction to it, with some speculating about the implications of Ghislaine's possible testimony, while others question her motives. And Maxwell's potential testimony could reignite debate over the Epstein case, though no formal congressional request has been made. And a lot of Republicans, it seems, are trying to stand in the way of that. And then, also interestingly today, what did we see happen? We saw Pam Bondi refuse to answer questions about Epstein today. Yeah, adding more fuel to an already blazing political inferno. Here, look at the headline here. NBC. Some conservatives in Congress break with Trump on his handling of the Epstein files. And this article reading, some conservative Republicans in Congress are breaking with President Donald Trump's handling of the case of the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the latest development in a rare MAGA revolt against the administration. When did you ever think we would see the day when a president who is, I would say, who has been elevated to the status of even a deity for many, is now being brought down to human size? Frail, flawed, potentially on the list. After the Justice Department, it continues here in the article, after the Justice Department, it says, and the FBI said they would not release any further information related to the case, and Trump sought to downplay it, his allies on Capitol Hill kept up their calls for the government to release the Epstein files, which has consumed right-wing circles for years. That's right. This is one of the main campaign planks in their platform, or was, and it's because it has all the elements that really get the MAGA base fired up, especially those Q supporters, right? Those Q people who form a I would say a portion of the backbone of the entire MAGA movement. So we see Marjorie Taylor Greene, a far right, it says here, Georgia Republican and staunch Trump ally, said she was interested in a private viewing of the Epstein files at the Justice Department and wants all of them eventually released to the public. She goes on here and says, quote, I'd like to see all the information come out. And another conservative, Scott DeJarle of Tennessee, also said he wants to see more disclosure from the government and focused his comments on Attorney General Pam Bondi, who has come under fire after the Justice Department and the FBI released a 2-page memo, which we showed you, stating that they found no evidence Epstein had kept an incriminating client list or evidence that would lead to the prosecution of third parties. Quote from Desjardins, he says, if the Attorney General has knowledge of people who committed sex crimes with the minors, she should prosecute them or should be prosecuting them. Who else do we have here on this list? Lauren Boebert said yesterday, or actually it was today, if the Trump administration doesn't release the Epstein files, a special counsel should be appointed to investigate the Epstein-related crimes. Quote, moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into this if we aren't going to be provided information, Boebert said on The Benny Show. And then we've got John Kennedy, who says that Americans expect more accountability from Trump, given Epstein's heinous crimes and that others were involved. It says here, but top Republicans, including House Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana and Senate Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota, are deferring to Trump on the issue without criticizing him. Quote, it's the president's decision. John Cornyn of Texas said, so this is splitting people in the MAGA movement. It's blowing the movement apart. This is not good for El Presidente Trump. Not good for MAGA, previously very cohesive political group. Hang on a moment here. I'm going to show you that today Pam Bondi did indeed refuse to answer any questions about this files. Okay, I don't know why I'm speaking with a dragon style French accent. Sorry, dragon, I'm just not good at it. All right, here's Bondi being questioned.
Additional credible evidence from the Epstein investigation. Is that something that you are open to do?
Let me take that.
Just a few moments ago.
Let me take that first. This today is about fentanyl. This is about a wall of people right outside this room who have died from, I appreciate your question, but this today is about fentanyl overdoses throughout our country and people who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. That's the message that we're here to send today. Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do that?
Our memo today, our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you. We're going to fight to keep America safe again, and we're fighting together as a team. That's what's so important right now. You know, we've got a war on drugs. We've got a war on human trafficking. We've got cartels in this country, and we are going to do, we've got foreign adversaries around this world as well, and we're all going to work together as a team to fight to keep America safe again, and I can tell you that's what we're all committed to.
Right. Okay. Good luck. He's in trouble. That's what it comes down to. Trump is in trouble. It's the cracks are spreading, and this whole thing could blow apart on him. And he can't get stuff done as if he doesn't have support. You think your vote doesn't count? You think your support for things doesn't matter? You think you don't make a difference? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Look, with Epstein conspiracy theories, Trump faces a crisis of his own making. There's Mike Johnson, picture of him. On this article, as the supporters erupt over the Justice Department's failure to release much-hyped records in Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking investigation, U.S. President Donald Trump's strategy has been to downplay the issue. Indeed, his problem, that nothing to see here approach, doesn't work for those who've learned from him. They must not give up until the government's deepest, darkest secrets are exposed, especially when it comes to the number one issue of concern for people within the MAGA movement, pedophilia. Last week, the Justice Department and the FBI abruptly walked back the notion there's an Epstein client list of elites who participated in the wealthy New York financier's trafficking of underage girls. Trump quickly defended Attorney General Pam Bondi and has chided a reporter for daring to ask about the documents. We saw all that. So a lot of this in this article is not entirely new, but highlighting the division. And that's why Bondi is out there calling for unity, unity, unity. Whenever we see, and this is true on the Canadian side, within the same sort of political circle, if you will, or a circle extension. Whenever there's a problem, the people at the core of the problem seem to run around calling for unity, which is another way of saying, shut the F up. Stop talking. Don't ask questions. Just get in line. That's when people in these movements start calling for unity. That's what it is. It's not about unity. It's about controlling messaging, damage control, PR, perception management. Shut up. If you don't have something nice to say about something evil, then just don't say anything at all. If we're in trouble politically, you have to shut the F up and fall in line. And if you don't, we're going to attack you. We're going to try and shut you down. We'll even get your channel taken down if you start asking uncomfortable questions. Doesn't matter if the person was not a good person and was doing bad things, even if it's something that was hurting the movement. You have to be unified with us in unity. Yeah, here's something from me to all of those of you who have tried to, ensnare me in your unity message. I'm not a follower. Okay. I never have been. I'm a maverick. I think for myself, and I don't follow people doing bad things. So here's my message to you. I want unity as well. How about you fall into line and get behind what's going on over here, which is to do the right thing, to help people, to help your country, to fight for real freedom, not some perversion of freedom that is authoritarian based and not freedom at all. Yeah, I want unity too. And it starts right here with people thinking for themselves and standing up for what's right and standing up for the little guy too, because that's what being a maverick is all about. And our quest for information that will get us closer to the truth will continue on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're going to pivot over to Canadian politics in a moment, but I can't get away from Trump because Trump just finds a way to weave his tentacles into every news story, it seems, these days, no matter what, even the stuff in Canada. And I think a lot of that is because he lies all the time. He just makes stuff up. It took me a while to clue in And I think it's the reason it took me a while to clue in is because he's just become progressively worse, and his lies keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, especially when it comes to things like tariffs and the amount of money that the United States is taking in. It wasn't long ago he was talking about $3 trillion, or it was just billions at first, then it was 3 trillion. And today, the the amount of money that's coming into the U.S. economy through investments has now ballooned from 3 trillion to now $16 trillion in new investments for the U.S. economy due to tariffs. Okay, I'm going to explain why this is obviously a load of crap coming from Trump. He just makes stuff up. It's unfreaking believable. This, after he left the White House, after he finished up with that news conference in, he got on Air Force One, flew off to Pennsylvania, and went to the Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit, where he made this statement about tariffs and the impact that it's having on the economy, saying, well, listen to him. This isn't even possible.
And we're at a little bit less than 6 months, but really we're probably at 3 months because it took me a little time to get started, right? So in 3.5, 4 months, let's say, we have about $16 trillion. There's never been anything like that in history. You can go for years and they didn't have numbers like that. And if you look at the last administration, you had negative numbers. You didn't have positive numbers. You're going in the wrong direction. But
$16 trillion in new investments. See how much money that is? It's highly implausible. This is an exaggeration, to put it kindly, generously. The U.S. GDP, gross domestic product, is about 28 to 30 trillion dollars annually. That's the entire economy. So a claim of $16 trillion in new investments is equivalent to over half the nation's gross domestic product. That he's suggesting what we have here is an unprecedented economic influx in a short period, and this just doesn't have any credible evidence supporting it. For instance, there was a report from Reuters back in early July, first week of this month, noting that Trump initially claimed, as I said, $3 trillion in new corporate investments shortly after taking office. And that later escalated to $14 trillion, with some calling it the Trump effect. And then it's been exaggerated. It just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The lie gets bigger. The bigger the lie, the more people, I guess, you fool. So we've got many economics analysts and, some of the top economists in the United States and internationally looking at the metrics on all of this, and they just say that the current statistics just don't support what Trump is saying. He said they're saying that economic forecasts, investment expectations, when you're talking to financial experts, people who are professional economists and people who just work in the financial fields, they're not seeing this. So, yeah, I'm sure there are some companies from other countries that are looking at moving production into the United States, but not $16 trillion worth within just a few months. It's just not happening on that scale. It's not plausible, given the scale of the U.S. economy and the lack of, verification, corroborating evidence for this $16 trillion influx. This claim is not only improbable, it's also inconsistent with economic realities. It's just more likely. Well, I don't think it's just likely. It is. It's rhetorical overstatement. That's what this is. It's a lie. Because it sounds good and he knows people will buy it. Because you can talk about these numbers and they don't really mean anything to anybody. Once you get past, say, 1,000 or maybe 100,000 or maybe 1 million, you get into the billions, people can't even relate to it anymore, let alone trillions. So it might as well be 1 trillion, or it might as well be 16 trillion. It just sounds better. That's all it is. It's just make up a number, make it big, make it sound like the biggest thing ever, which is what it always is with Trump. And he knows that people will just buy it up, eat it up, because they don't know any better and they can't put things in perspective. It's a story. It's a story that's being told. It's not about being accurate. He's selling you stuff, whether it's legislation or tax cuts or tax increases or some new deportation plan or whatever it is, or some excuse to threaten a country with annexation, like Canada, making it the 51st state, using trade as a weapon. Well, that's front and center still in Canada today. And now Mark Carney is saying that he's not optimistic that a trade deal can be reached with the United States by the 21st. Or let me just, that's not what I meant. Let me clarify. It's my understanding that Carney is saying that whatever deal is reached probably won't be tariff free. And I think that's because we're seeing that Trump is just married to this idea of tariffs. This is the only tool he's using, the only economic tool he's really using. It's what is at his disposal, what he has access to. And as a result, he has picked a fight with virtually every other country on the planet. So it's Trump and the USA against the rest of the world, including Canada. Today, Mark Carney addressing again the trade war and his latest comments thus.
Well, look, first thing to say is that the government has consistently stood up for Canadian workers and businesses throughout these negotiations. We'll continue to do so. I expect that the discussions will intensify between now and the end of the month, and we'll be working hard on that. At the same time, we need to recognize that the commercial landscape globally has changed. It's changed in a fundamental manner, and we will continue to focus on what we can most control, which is building a strong Canadian economy. And that's part of what we'll be discussing in Cabinet today. And a strong Canadian economy, to be absolutely clear, includes a strong steel industry. It includes a strong Canadian auto industry, a strong Canadian aluminum industry, and copper industry, and others. And we'll be focused on what we can do to support that. En français,
est-ce qu'une entente sans tarif est possible?
Sans tarif, il n'y a pas beaucoup d'évidence.
Okay, so that was Carney today. 21st. So how many days do we have left? Like 6. I don't think it's going to happen. It could. I mean, but as I said before, I think what we'll end up with, if there's a deal, is it won't be a real deal. It will be a framework for a deal, which they will then expand on. And don't forget that we're still going into these negotiations to renegotiate what was the best trade deal in the history of mankind, the USMCA trade deal, which replaced NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, negotiated by Trump. Now, apparently, it's the worst trade deal ever made, before the last worst trade deal, NAFTA, and now it has to be renegotiated. And so Trump is renegotiating the best deal because it's the worst deal, and then we're going to have to do all of that stuff. Yeah. Got it? Okay. Me too. I sort of understand. I'm just at the point where it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to listen to it, and I don't want to hear about it, and I don't even want to talk about it anymore. But Melanie Joly talking about it more today, because what else is there to talk about except trade and Trump and tariffs? And here's what she had to say. Might as well listen to her too.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back in Halifax. As I was talking to Pat about, actually, we were together back in February as we were dealing with the impacts of our relationship with the U.S. And so it's good to be back here now in the context of a new portfolio, a portfolio that I've been craving to have for years, which is the industry portfolio, because I'm happy to be able also to work on the consequences of the U.S. relationship and what's going on right now on the trade side. Donc, ça me fait plaisir d'être à Halifax, de vous voir tous ensemble. I'm happy to be here. I'm just coming out of cabinet. We had a very good and thorough conversation with the Prime Minister and the different ministers that are working on the Canada-US relations. Of course, I've said it many times, we won't negotiate in public, but the goal is to make sure that at the end of the day, we are protecting Canadian workers and we are making sure that Canada's interests and Canadians' interests are protected. So happy to be meeting with the Ocean Supercluster. I think that when you think of what's going on in the world, and particularly when it comes to our relationship with the US, what we know we can work on is what we can control. And that's why all of you are here, because we'll work on building a very strong economy. One economy, not 13 economies. And what we will do in that context is I hope we can build together. We just passed a very important infrastructure linked bill that is called Bill C5 for major infrastructure projects. I hope that we can increase the domestic market for all the different solutions that you're working on. I also want us to talk about defense and how we can work together on having a new defense industrial policy, creating jobs in the different companies that you're heading that sometimes are linked to dual use, civilian but also military. I'll be going to the Irving shipyard a bit later today, and I'll be talking, of course, about the national shipbuilding strategy, but also about how we can create jobs, because what I'm hearing is that companies want to have contracts rather than subsidies from the government. And obviously, this is the goal in the context of our investment in defense, creating jobs also at home, while, of course, we're supporting our brave men and women at the Canadian Armed Forces. Donc, ce sont les conversations que je vais avoir l'occasion d'avoir avec vous pour pouvoir parler des impacts, bien entendu, de la relation avec les États-Unis. And finally, we know that Halifax is such a gateway, of course, to the Maritimes, Atlantic Canada, the rest of the country, but also a very, very important connection, yes, to the US, but also to the other side of the ocean, which is Europe. And so I want us to be able to talk about diversifying our economy and, of course, how are you connecting with the different businesses on the other side of the ocean. Donc, that's what I want to be able to talk about. C'est l'objectif de notre rencontre. That's my goal with you today. And I'm super happy that we have great journalists, but now they will leave and we will be able to have real conversations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Okay, so now they're going to talk about all the secret stuff that they don't want us to know. Real conversations now. We're done with all the fake stuff. She was talking about the new legislation that will help the government kind of ram through pipelines or other infrastructure projects by doing an end run around other legislation and court challenges and everything else that, you know, is placed in the way of such development. C5, Bill C5. But here, look at this. Here we go. 9 First Nations ask court to strike down federal Ontario bills allowing infrastructure fast tracking. Yeah, it's not so easy, is it, to govern in Canada or to get anything done because there's push, pull, friction, conflict. Right here, 9 First Nations, it says here, CBC reporting on this in Ontario are seeking, 9 First Nations in Ontario seeking a court-ordered injunction that would prevent the federal and provincial governments from using newly passed laws to fast-track infrastructure projects. The constitutional challenge, states provincial Bill 5 and federal Bill C5 both represent a clear and present danger to the First Nations, which include Attawapiskat, Fort Albany, and Apatippi. The First Nations argue both pieces of legislation authorize the Crown to unilaterally ram through projects without meaningful or any engagement with First Nations and violate the constitutional obligation of the Crown to advance reconciliation. The claim calls the promises of consultation with Indigenous communities a, quote, smoke and mirrors trick, and says the, quote, authorized exclusions of First Nations contained in the legislation are unconstitutional. So I'm not surprised. Of course, we're going to get friction. How could you get anything but in this country? So much friction that it could set a forest on fire. And we have more wildfires burning in Canada tonight than we did yesterday. In fact, we have 10 fires now burning across Newfoundland and Labrador. Chance Harbor fire has grown to 1,200 hectares, destroying cabins. Here it says it's a wildfire. The destroyed cabins on the Bona Vista Peninsula continues to burn out of control. 3 other wildfires have ignited in Labrador. Provincial Fire Duty Officer Mark Lawler says the Chance Harbor fire is the only wildfire burning out of control as of tonight, but reports are coming in of new wildfires burning near the Labrador community of Port Hope Simpson. And that started late this afternoon. Another fire is burning near Cartwright, while the third is burning around 80 kilometers east of Churchill Falls. Lawler says further details currently unavailable. The Department of Fisheries, Forestry, and Agriculture says the Chance Harbor fire has not grown in size beyond 1,200 hectares, and firefighting efforts are focused on its southeastern section. So we're continuing to follow that. We know that we still have a lot of fires happening out in Manitoba. So that's a center of concern. And then just across Western Canada in particular, we've got another serious summer of wildfire smoke and soot and air quality problems, which are drifting into the U.S. of A. across the border, making it a political crisis of sorts, as we reported previously this week. Oh, now also can tell you that there's a Calgary police officer who has been charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. This following a 2023 vehicle pursuit. Alberta's police watchdog has reported that Constable Craig Stothard has been charged. Following its recommendation, ACERT investigated the May 29th, 2023 incident that resulted in 2 people being shot and killed. So this, according to a release from police, a Calgary police release says that a, quote, a Calgary police service officer shot at occupants of a van on Memorial Drive Northeast following a slow speed pursuit. And in this ACERT release, it says 2 of the occupants were struck and later pronounced deceased. The evidence gathered during ACERT's investigation provided reasonable grounds to believe that offenses had been committed. And then on May 29th, 2023, police said they received reports of a 5-ton cube van being driven erratically and dangerously throughout Northeast Calgary. So that is a bombshell. Police officer charged with second-degree murder charges. Yeah. Let's take a little break. We're going to come back, continue our coverage of today's top news stories. Don't go away.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, and the victim of one of those, the mother of one of those victims, is expressing relief after learning that charges have been laid against the Calgary police officer. So this is this is a story for Calgary that is obviously going to wind its way through the police service and the courts, and we'll continue to follow that too. Sending shockwaves through the community, obviously. What else do we have for you tonight? Well, hard to top the $3 trillion, $14 trillion, $16 trillion claims from Donald Trump. But there is other stuff going on. In Windsor, Ontario, not too far from where I sit tonight, a former campaign volunteer for the People's Party of Canada, who was a volunteer on the Victor Green campaign, has been charged with financial fraud. This going back to the 2021 federal election. Maurice Brown served as Green's official agent in the Windsor-Tecumseh riding and is facing 3 charges from the Commissioner of Canada Elections. Authorities allege Brown deposited an Elections Canada check worth over $18,000 into her personal bank account, submitted an incomplete campaign return, and committed theft over $5,000 intended for Green's campaign between October 2021 and January 2022. The PPC, through a spokesperson, has declined to comment on this tonight. They are citing the ongoing investigation and respect for the legal process. Green, who placed 4th in the 2021 election in the riding with nearly 6,000 votes, which isn't bad for a PPC candidate, frankly, has not publicly addressed these charges. The case is set to proceed in Windsor's provincial court. More details pending. We shall continue to follow that, and we've had Victor on this program in the past. Maybe we'll have him on again in the near future. And maybe he'll talk about it. Maybe he won't. It's a sensitive legal issue, obviously, so there's probably only so much he can say. But it's this Epstein stuff. Just look at the fallout from this Epstein scandal. I'm calling it a scandal because there's clearly something amiss. And Tucker Carlson leading the charge. I just watched some video of him overnight when his usual sarcastic self highlighting all of this, saying, "Oh yeah, I believe I'm with Ben Shapiro and that there's nothing to see here." But even Kevin Spacey weighing in on this, and Kevin Spacey was he had his career essentially sidelined for a while with those allegations of sexual assault against a young man. But he's apparently on the Epstein list, and or on the Epstein flight logs. And here he is posting saying, "Release the Epstein files, all of them." He says, "For those of us with nothing to fear, the truth can't come soon enough. I hate to make this about me, but the media already has." And then in regard to that, Elon Musk also claimed here, he says there was a bedroom in the back of that plane. There's the Daily Show, Jon Stewart weighing in. It just, oh, the auto pen scandal. It's just crazy, man. This is good. This could blow everything apart. I didn't really see this one coming, to be honest. Except I guess I did say, didn't I, that there were going to be some things that Trump would not be able to deliver on, that the movement wouldn't be able to deliver on, his administration, some issues, because they were exaggerating and making things up and promising to deliver justice or changes. And then in the end, they can't do that if it's not true. Well, here we go with this. And there's just complete inconsistency in the messaging. And there's no way to know what's true. That's the problem he really has. It's not going to matter what he does unless he produces a list and delivers heads on a platter politically or through the legal system somehow. Most people are not going to be satisfied if they can't cough up some sort of a list, some files that delivers some sort of retribution, justice, vengeance, whatever you want to call it. People are just not going to buy it. A lot of people will just always sit there and say they're covering something up. And that's why Trump is in trouble. If he can't deliver something on this, he's in trouble. This is going to come and just gnaw away at him. This is like the MAGA base is now like a dog with a bone. Yeah, I'm telling you. Let's do this Twitter scroll over here, and then we're going to go over to social media on Truth Social and see what Trump is posting over there tonight. If you want to know what's going on in the world, all you have to do is look over there, because he touches on probably 80% of every story in the world. Right here, Piers Morgan reposting a Mario Nawfal submission to X saying nearly 3 minutes missing from raw Epstein prison video. Metadata reveals. So now it's 3 minutes. Pam Bondi said it was 60 seconds and that it was the same 60 seconds every night, every time that the video surveillance system reached its end, there would be a 60-second gap at the same point all the time, consistently. But now we're seeing, according to this, there's actually 3 minutes of missing information from that footage, which we were told was raw. I reported on it as such the night that they released that video inside the prison, which was from this strange angle, just showing like a door or an elevator or something, and in a hallway. What that's supposed to show, I'm not sure, but there was at first we're told it's raw, unedited. Then we find out that there is supposed to be 60 seconds, a 60-second gap at the same point every night, which is supposed to be normal. And now we're saying we're seeing claims that 3 minutes of footage may have been deleted from it. So again, more weirdness, but hey, it's America. And politics is kind of weird down there. And That's the way they roll down there. That's why, honestly, I don't want to be the 51st state, because politics in Canada is bizarro enough as it is. We don't need any more bizarro-ness up here in Kanakistan. Thank you very much, but no thanks. Well, folks, that kind of gets us to the end of tonight's broadcast. I'm just going to check into the chat over here on Channel 1. Hello, everybody over there on Channel 1. What's going on over there? Hey, Dragon, Kron, I wear the full armor of God, says the Kron. Yeah, 6590 Smith and Ford signed an agreement. That was days ago, yeah. Hi, Jubilee. I like Sault Ste. Marie. Do you? Me too. Although I'm not really that familiar, not too familiar with the Sioux. I have some friends from up there. I've worked with lots of people from up there too. Hey, Arthur, how are you? Hello, Stoic teacher. Yeah. So keep it real, folks. That's all I can say. I was kind of thinking we might hear from Joseph Leonard. He was supposed to go see that Superman movie, but I didn't hear from him today. So I don't know if he went to see it or not, or maybe he's seeing it tonight. Maybe we'll hear from him tomorrow. If he does go see it, I'm going to ask him if he'll come back on to give us his review, good or bad, of the Superman flick, because of course when he was on, he hadn't seen it yet. So I'm doing a review with someone who hadn't seen the movie, and I had, and I just want to know if his opinion on it has really shifted or changed at all after having seen it, and kind of listening to those people who said that it's just woke, don't go see it. I liked it. I'm interested to see if his opinion shifts if he does go see the thing. We'll find out. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. If he did, maybe we'll hear from him. And maybe I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on the flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a word. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.